Okay, when I say the name Zeus, what pops into your head? Probably thunderbolts, right? Maybe some eagles, the king of all the gods up on Mount Olympus. Yeah, that's all true. But his real story, wow, it's so much bigger than that. We're talking about an insane rebellion against his own father, a brutal, decade-long war for control of the entire universe, and building a legacy that shaped, like, all of Western civilization. So yeah, let's get into it. And we're kicking things off with the absolute heart of the drama. I mean, look at this question. This isn't a metaphor. Zeus's father, the Titan king Cronus, literally swallowed his own children to make sure they could never challenge him. So how in the world does youngest son not only escape that fate, but end up on top of everything? Everything starts with his birth, of course, but this was no royal celebration. Zeus wasn't born into a palace. He was born in a cave, in secret. He was the last-ditch effort of a mother who was just done. From the moment he took his first breath, his entire life was an act of rebellion. See, it all comes down to this vicious cycle of paranoia. Cronus had overthrown his own father, Uranus, so he knew exactly what a ticked-off son was capable of. To stop history from repeating itself, he just ate his kids the second they were born. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, gone. Just like that. But his wife Rhea simply couldn't take it anymore. So Rhea cooks up this brilliant, desperate plan. She bolts to the island of Crete to give birth where no one can see her. Then she hands baby Zeus over to Gaia. Yep, the earth itself, to keep him safe. And here's the best part. She grabs a big rock, wraps it up in a baby blanket, and hands it to Cronus. And he, having no clue, just swallows it right down. He thinks he's safe forever. So while Cronus is up there ruling the cosmos, thinking he's dodged a bullet, little Zeus is growing up in a hidden cave. And it really took a village to raise this god king. He had nymphs for nurses, drank milk from a divine goat named Amalthea, and get this, to make sure Cronus never heard him crying, these warrior spirits called the Charetes would bang their spears and shields together 24/7 to make enough noise to cover it up. Pretty clever, right? But you can't stay hidden forever. Once Zeus was all grown up, it was time. Time to make that old prophecy come true. He had to step out of the shadows, face down the most powerful being in the universe, and free the brothers and sisters he'd never even met. So Zeus doesn't just, charge in with his fists flying. Nah, he's smart. He takes a page out of his mom's book and uses his brain. With a little help from a goddess named Metis, he slips his dad a special little drink. And the result is, well, it's pretty gnarly. Cronus coughs up that rock he swallowed, and then, one by one, he vomits up all 5 of his kids who are now fully grown gods. So for the very first time, all 6 siblings are together, and you can bet they have just one thing on their mind: payback. And let me tell you, this was no weekend skirmish. This was the Titanomachy, an all-out war for the cosmos between the new gods, the Olympians, and the old guard, the Titans. And it dragged on for 10 years. It was a total stalemate until Gaia, their grandmother, gives Zeus a hot tip. She tells him to free his other uncles from Tartarus, the Cyclopes, who then forges his famous thunderbolts, and the Hundred-Handers, who were, well, exactly what they sound like. With those guys on their side, the war was over. The Titans were finally toast. Okay, so you've won the war, you control the universe. Now what? Well, the 3 brothers had to figure out who gets what. And how'd they do it? They drew lots. Seriously, in the middle of all this epic, cosmic chaos, they basically flipped a coin. Poseidon got the sea, Hades got the underworld, and Zeus, well, he drew the long straw and got the sky, making him the king of everything. But you know what they say? Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Zeus's role was challenged almost immediately. First came the Gigantomachy, a massive war against the giants, where the gods actually needed a mortal hero, Heracles, to help them win. But even scarier was Typhon. This thing was a nightmare monster with 100 heads. Zeus had to fight him alone, and he almost lost. Typhon ripped out his tendons. He had to be patched up by Hermes before he could finally trap that monster under a volcano for good. So Zeus, the warrior king, locks down his throne. But that's only one side of him, isn't it? What about Zeus, the ruler, the father? And yeah, the guy who famously could not keep it in his toga. His love life is just as central to his story as any of his battles. And would you believe it, that same old prophecy pops up again. His first wife was Metis, the goddess of wisdom. But then Zeus hears a prophecy that she'll have a son who's destined to overthrow him. So what does he do? The exact same thing his father did, but with a twist. He swallows Metis whole. But by doing that, he not only stops the prophecy, he also absorbs all her wisdom. And later, their daughter, Athena, is born straight from Zeus's head. Pretty wild way to break a family curse. After Metis, well, Zeus's romantic life got, let's just say, messy. And when it came to pursuing the mortal women and goddesses who caught his eye, a simple hello was never really his style. Oh no, he had to get creative. Very creative. And by creative, I mean he was the ultimate shapeshifter. He turned into a beautiful white bull to get Europa's attention. For Leda, he became a swan. For Danae, he became a literal shower of gold. To get to Alcmene, Hercules' mom, he just took the form of her husband. And he even wooed his own future wife, Hera, by pretending to be a poor, helpless little cuckoo bird. It seems like nothing was off the table for the king of the gods. His main marriage, the one everyone knows about, was to his sister, Hera. And it was turbulent, to say the least. Zeus kept having his affairs, and Hera's famous jealousy became this huge driving force in so many Greek myths. And her anger usually wasn't aimed at Zeus. Oh no, it was aimed at his lovers and their kids, most famously the hero Heracles. But to really get Zeus, you have to look past all the family drama and the epic fights. For the ancient Greeks, he wasn't just some character in a cool story. He was a real, active part of their everyday lives. He was the god who held their whole society together. Take one of his most important jobs, Zeus Xenios, the protector of guests. See, hospitality, or xenia, was a huge deal. It was the sacred rule that you had to take care of travelers and strangers, and Zeus was the one who enforced it. If you wronged a guest, you weren't just being rude, you were ticking off the most powerful god there is. He was also Zeus Horkios, the keeper of oaths. When you swore an oath in ancient Greece, you were making a promise directly to Zeus himself. It was unbreakable. In fact, if you were caught lying after swearing an oath, you had to pay for a statue of Zeus to be built. It was basically a public monument to your dishonesty for everyone to see. And people worshipped him in all these different ways, which shows you how he fit into every part of their lives. Sure, he was Zeus Olympios, the big shot god of the Olympic Games. But in some places, he was Zeus like Hyos, a wild wolf Zeus. In others, he was a kindly snake god of the underworld called Zeus Melios. Or he could be Zeus Augurius, the god of the marketplace who would punish shady merchants. He wasn't just some god in the sky, he was everywhere. So when you put it all together, what are you left with? Zeus is this massive bundle of contradictions, right? He's the guy who makes the rules and then breaks them constantly. He's the protector of the weak, but he's also a total predator. He's the very symbol of cosmic order, but his entire story starts with chaos and rebellion. And maybe that's the most interesting thing about him. It isn't just about the thunderbolts and the power. It's about what his very, very human flaws can show us about how the ancient Greeks thought about their gods, their own world, and what it really means to hold all the power.